Listen, I know Shenhe is coming out. She looks super cool. Cryo character, very nice aesthetic. Got the Exorcist thing going on. Summoning Spirit Talisman. Shout out to Sailor Mars out there. That makes me, ooh, Sailor Moon. Is that still a thing that happens? Anyways, we need to talk about some stuff on this character. She's gonna have some very cool things about her, but you need to know how they work so you can make a decision about this character for yourself. Now, primarily, she's gonna be a cryo-centric support-focused character. And even though she does do stuff supporting just general aspects like elemental skill, burst damage, normal attacks, charge attack damage up, physical and cryo resist down, really what she's here for is her elemental skill, the Spring Spirit Summoning. Now, when you activate the skill, the most important part of this is that you're gonna get 7 stacks of a stack buff for everyone in your party, and these stacks are individual. However, what you do with these stacks is every time a character does cryo damage, specifically cryo damage, you're going to consume 1 stack for every 1 enemy you hit. Now, that's something you need to know and drive right here into the noggin. 1 stack, it goes away for every enemy you hit. It's not per attack. So if you charge shot 7 dudes, it's gone. You consume them all and it's gone. And this skill has a 10-second base cooldown on press, or you can hold it for a 15-second cooldown. Now, if you press it, you're gonna get 5 stacks per person. If you hold it, you're gonna get 7. In my opinion, it's better to press it due to the sort of ratio between increased cooldown and amount of stacks gained. You're gonna increase the cooldown by 50%. However, you're not gonna gain 50% stack increase there. So it's gonna be more efficient just to use the press version unless you're going for this big burst damage chain, which we're gonna talk about as well. Now, the way this also works is that this damage that you gain from using a stack is tied to the total amount of attack that Shenhe has at the time of the stack consumption. So this is gonna really impact the way you build her. This is why Shenhe also, 1- here, has terrible multipliers. We're talking like a talent level 13 elemental burst has a 200% multiplier around there. That's awful. And then it, takes a little bit for like a 70% multiplier. For elemental skill, even less than that. For most elemental skills, right around like a 350-ish% at best multiplier. And that's her talent level 11 multiplier, a little over 350%. And this is really going to sort of impact the way you build her as well, because you're gonna need to stack attack as much as possible because of the way that Yunjin and Shenhe work. The base amount of damage you gain from their specific buffs is tied to their own stats, attack for Shenhe and defense for Yunjin specifically. But what is going to multiply these stats is not their crit chance and crit damage and damage up bonuses. It's what we're gonna call a driver character. So whoever is activating and consuming their stacks of their buff. So this is also pretty cool because you can build your character for max damage up. So a lot of cryo damage, or maybe use it on Yaka, a lot of cryo in normal attack damage or charge attack damage. And then you also have the ability to not only use their damage percent up, but also their big crit damage as well. So you fully stack Shenhe to a lot of attack. You're not gonna have a lot of crit chance. You're not gonna have a lot of crit damage, but your character that's the driver for the consumer of this buff is gonna consume them. So you can see some very amazing bursts like Pyro Regifying. Check out me one-shot and Pyro Regifying with a Ganyu charge shot sort of thing there. That's gonna be very awesome. However, remember, a lot of her power is tied to this E and has a 10 to 15-second cooldown, and every enemy you hit consumes a stack. So if you shoot that charge shot into a swath of dudes that you've venti sucked up in the air, the entire buff is gone because it consumes a 1 stack for everyone you hit. Now, her elemental burst, in my opinion, is kind of trash. So it costs 80 energy and has a 12-second duration. Very low multiplier like we talked about, and it reduces physical resistance by 15% and cryo resistance by 15% while they're within this sort of like smaller than Bennett style sort of circle. Now, the cryo resistance, that's cool. You're gonna be utilizing it in parties that you have Shenhe in. The physical resistance, though, to me doesn't make sense at all because the main draw for her is her E. However, you can only consume the E stacks when you're doing cryo damage, whether it's cryo damage normal, charge attacks, plunging attacks, elemental skills, elemental burst, but it has to be cryo damage. So the fact that she reduces physical resistance in a party that you're gonna be building with her doesn't matter at all. It might as well not even be on the skill. So you're gonna get 15 cryo resist down on an 80 cost elemental burst on someone who isn't gonna be doing that much damage on their own. This is gonna tickle. It's gonna hit for like a couple 1,000 a second or something, it's not all that good. Damage wise, it's pretty trash. You're gonna get a sort of a nominal damage increase. So this is kind of less than actually what a Zhongli like shield does for just having the Zhongli shield and walking around like a Zhongli bot. Now she's gonna have some Ascensions as well. It's gonna help you out a little bit here. Her first one here, you're gonna give people cryo damage increase of 15% while they're in the field of her elemental burst, so that helps out a little bit there. And then you're also gonna have the second Ascension, Spirit Communion Seal, which is after you use your Spring Spirit Summoning, depending on if you use the press or the hold version, you're either gonna increase elemental skills and elemental burst damage on the press, or normal charge and plunging attacks on the hold version, which is pretty awesome. Because it's an additive bonus, and yeah, it is gonna feed in and give you some extra damage percent up bonuses when you consume her seals, but it's really just not mathematically a game-breaking thing. And this is the biggest weakness of Shenhe. Now, her elemental skill, the stacks, they're very awesome, but they get consumed so fast. And a lot of the cryo characters that are very popular for main damage, there's really two, Ayaka and Ganyu, like to hit multiple people all of the time. And these stacks are being consumed per enemy hit, not per attack done. So, you know, if you want to use Ayaka's elemental burst, that thing hits 18 to 20 times on one person. You're gonna get 7 instances of this buff on Ayaka. If you throw out an Ayaka burst, you're hitting 3, 4, 5 people. Hitting 5 people, that's 100 hits. But only 7 of those 100 hits are gonna have this stack consumption going on. This is where you can see the weaknesses of this character become very apparent. Now, thankfully, miHoYo put in 2 constellations to help this character out. Her C1 is going to allow you to recast her elemental skill again, which gives you an additional 5 to 7 stacks, which is pretty awesome. You kind of get the double up on her burst potential, right? You can throw out her E, throw out Ayaka elemental burst, swap back into Shenhe because your stacks are already gone, basically because that thing hits so fast, and then E again, and then Ayaka is going to consume an additional 5 stacks. You're going to see a lot of burst damage come out of this character. However, if you're not spending, 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds, not making the damage per views YouTube video content on Genshin Impact, you're not going to really facilitate your game plan all that well with this character. And then her Constellation 6 also was pretty powerful. So when you use your LEC Quill, you consume them normally on your normal charge attacks, elemental skill, plunging attacks, and elemental burst damage. However, here's the cool thing about this, but it's also kind of bad at the same time. Her C6, you won't consume an Icy Quill on your normal and charge attacks. However, your bursts will and your skills will. So for the 2 characters that are most prominent that want to use this buff, Ayaka and Ganyu, not consuming on normal and charge attack, that's awesome. That's the vast majority of her damage, right? However, Ganyu always has perpetually her burst falling down, and the burst will still consume the stacks and you will run out because it's just gonna plop, 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 plop. Same thing with Ayaka. You pop the E, normal charge attack, and slide in, doing all that cool stuff. As soon as you pop a burst, gone. And then because you're out of stacks, your normal and charge attacks, even though they don't consume them, you don't have the stacks anymore, so the buff's gone. And that's Constellation 6.